we start the morning talking about tissue engineering, and we finish talking about biomechanics. So biomechanics, it's related with primary prevention. So maybe we don't need too much in the future to develop tissue engineering if we are able to primarily prevent pelvic floor dysfunctions. I know that it's like an utopia, but in other areas of the body, maybe they are more development in that sense. Anyway, I think the societies like ICS and yoga who take care about women's health, it's very important to promote both areas of research, basic research, and it's for that this was the intention to put this round table in this first day of our meeting. I hope that that the young people who are looking for a research area of interest can find this area a good area for their efforts. Anyway, after saying that, I want again to congratulate all three speakers because it has been excellent, and please, I would like very much if you have some questions. Doesn't matter if I'm clinical or I'm technical, because this is an area of collaboration. And we said, please come and ask to our speakers your questions.
No. May I? Thank you. I knew that you were doing really good stuff in Porto, but I didn't know how good it was. So congratulations. That's marvelous, and we can see obvious progress there. So that bodes very well for the future. Can I maybe just reiterate again that these models have to be tested against clinical data, against what we know is actually happening in nature, and whenever your model predicts something that is obviously happening in our labor wards, then that validates the model. You've just shown a really neat validation of your model with the OP, with the effect of an OP presentation. So that validates the model, and it's really important to do that. Sometimes such validation will be successful, and sometimes it will be unsuccessful. And after I've pointed out a successful one, may I point out one that's not quite so successful. And that is the athletes, because that was Jenny Kruger's original PhD. And she, of course, you know, she has, the group in Auckland have an interest in bioengineering and in modeling. And when we started with those athletes, we expected exactly what you just showed. We expected a stiffer pelvic floor, and we expected to be able to say, well, athletes are going to have more trouble when they deliver. We found the opposite of what we expected. Because while those athletic women, Jenny, you should have told them, while those athletic women had thicker muscle, that muscle was substantially more elastic. And that means the end conclusions in Jenny's PhD was that most likely those athletes actually should do better rather than more poorly, because while their muscle is thicker, it is also much more functional, which includes elasticity. So that means their stress-strain curve should actually look more favorable. They should be less likely to reach their elastic limit when they have their babies. Now, the last thing I would like to talk about is the issue of pelvic floor relaxation. And there you show how important such modeling can be. Because we have interventions that can result in pelvic floor relaxation in childbirth. So the data that I'd love to have one or two of those slides. And I need that data because it provides the biomechanical justification for intrapartum intervention that would paralyze the pelvic floor. And we all know we can do that. It's easy with a pudendal nerve block. We just whack a bilateral pudendal nerve block in, and the muscle is completely paralyzed. And that may also be the explanation for the fact that we've seen some effect of epidural in the sense of pelvic floor protection, because there's less microtrauma, what we call irreversible over-distension in women with an epidural. So the biomechanical model of yours has now reached a stage where we can easily test it against clinical findings, and we can use it to allow us to design potentially effective preventative interventions. And that means I congratulate you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Dr. Diaz. Do you want to comment something about?
Thank you very much for your comments. As well, in all of my life, I work with simulations. So, with simulations, we can do everything. If you want to obtain 100, we can obtain 100. If you want to obtain 0, we can obtain 0. So this is the reason that it's very important to validate the models. And to validate the models, I think we need to find 4 or 5 or 6 specific situations in order to divide the problems in those situations, in order to validate the models for those situations. I'm talking about 5 or 6, can be 10 or 12, it doesn't matter. But as you mentioned, we need to validate the models in order to be in the future as used as a clinical tool.
Thank you very much for your comment. And I'd like to say that I think that these engineers so interested in pelvic floor, I think that they need to catch your images, your ultrasound images, so important for us, and create the pelvic floor, create pelvic floor computational models and modeling situations through your 3 and 4D dimensions perineal ultrasound, because I suppose that we can improve our knowledge when this will be possible, and to understand the real time, the real situations. I think that it will be possible, but we need to wait. I suppose this.
Do you want to comment something, Margaret? I must say that to assume the risk to moderate a session like that for only a clinician, knowing nothing about bioengineering, nothing about image, was really risky. But I have to say that I really wanted to do. But I have the advice of Margot, all the process to coordinate our presentations. She has been there because as a bioengineer, he can tell me what really was important. So I have to thank Margot for helping me in the process to preparing this. And I have to thank very much to my neighbors in Portugal. I feel very proud of you, and congratulations for your great research. And I think in a few years, if these societies both are... Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. Sorry. My excuses. Oh. I saw everybody was going out, so it's too late. Excuse me, please. Please proceed. Oh,
thank you. I'm Andrew Farkas. I'm a gynecologist in the UK. I mean, this is exciting stuff. But is there a tendency to concentrate on the pelvic floor too much and to slightly forget about the fetus? And the fetus is the most deformable component and possibly the more difficult to measure, hence easier to measure the pelvic floor rather than the fetus.
I think while they discuss, I'll take a bit of a broad view on that and say that we have focused on the effect of the fetus and the pelvic floor because that is our field, right? And so we need to get together with our colleagues in the maternal fetal medicine field and obstetrics and put these models to use in modeling the effects of the pelvic floor on the fetus. I think that's a very wise idea, and I thank you for the suggestion. And actually, every 4 years, there's a World Congress of Biomechanics, and it's coming up in 2014. And we usually have a reproductive bioengineering session, and it's a wonderful opportunity to bring people together to do exactly as you suggest.
Professor Espuña, here in the back.
Okay.
Yes.
One question here, another there. Yeah, please.
I liked very much this session, Barry Bergman's Maastricht, the Netherlands. But I think we are now discussing childbirth and biomechanical models for this. We are also trying to find out what is the optimal pelvic floor muscle training, things like that. I think it is very, very helpful also to mimic this with biomechanical models to see really when and if it's working like we think that it should work. So moving on this.
I think it's a very good comment, Barry, and I don't know if you want to comment something, but I think they all say that they need to consider many aspects on that modeling. They are very conscious of that, and I have repeated that. And this is, of course, a very important aspect that you mentioned. Thank you very much, Barry. I think there is another question there.
Yes. Well, thank you for your presentations. I would like to know if you did you take into account the maternal positions during pushing? Because I don't know if you, because I saw you were focused on the fetal head, but what happened with the mother? Do you think that the maternal position could have an influence in the pelvic floor results?
I think this is an important study that we would like to develop. I suppose that, as far as I'm aware, I think that there are no studies about this. I suppose no. But I already thought about this, and I already talked about this, and I suppose that I will agree with you. It is important to study this aspect.
So, as you can see, this is an area of interest. It's an area of many people interested and many new ideas. And I think this is very important, for at least from my point of view, for a meeting and to create new ideas, to create interest. But I want to ask you, as experts in biomechanics, if we compare the situation of the research in this specific area to the other areas of the human body where biomechanics has been applied, maybe we are in the prehistoric time or something like that now?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Because one of there are three areas that have a lot of. There are three areas that have a lot of work. One of them, it's to study the implants for femur and so on, and to knee. And also to the feet. So now when we go to the dentist, we have a lot of technology that were developed in the previous decades. And in the last decade, I think there are a lot of work related with the heart and the vascular system. Yes, but because in the case of the heart, because there are a lot of death by this, so this is one of the main reasons that we have research where we have money. Yeah. Where you have financial to do that.
You are right. But I think it's for that societies, is the third time I said that, societies like IFS and Yoga who take care about these aspects of the women's health, and even if they are quality of life, but the quality of life, it's very, very important. So to promote the research and having groups like you and also Margot and the group Job de Lance in the States have to be mentioned, and experts in image that they are looking new ways to present us what happened inside. No? I think that would be good in the future. I'm sure in maybe 20 years, of course I will be retired, but all these young people here have many answers about that. So if there is not more questions now, we will close the session.
Before we adjourn, I would just like to thank Monsi for bringing this to the forefront and bringing attention to this important area.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, and thank you all you for being here.